Happy hour starts right now. Let's decorate sugar cookies. Hi, I'm Leslie with Leslie's Cookies and Treats, and if you love decorating sugar cookies or you want to learn how, you're in the right place. Let's decorate together. Flirty, spritzy, and fun. Let's decorate these together. All of the supplies are listed in the description. The cookie cutter is from the flower shop, and I'm using a royal icing that's in white in about a 15-second consistency, and we're just going to go ahead and outline and flood in the entire background of this cookie. So holding your icing bag a little bit up away from the cookie, but staying pretty close. Outline the cookie as close to the edge as possible, and then we'll go ahead and fill that in with the exact same royal icing. And it's okay to stop and start as you're going around your outline. We're going to pipe right over it anyway. So go ahead and fill it in. I'm flooding right up to the edge of my cookie because I know it's not going to overflow, but since I'm using a 15-second consistency icing. But if your icing is a looser consistency, leave some room around the edge, and then you can use your scribe or your toothpick to pull the icing over to the edge and smooth it all out and settle it all down. Make sure you look for air bubbles that are underneath the surface and pop those, and then set this cookie aside to dry completely. And once your cookies have dried, you can come back in and draw in the stem to the wine glass. I cut a little bit bigger of a hole in my piping bag, and I'm just going to draw in the stem of the glass, and then I'll use my scribe to settle this icing down and shape it a little further. And then I'm going to set it aside to dry until the stem crusts over. And so now that the stem is crusted over and I have no worries that the icing is going to run together, I'm just going to outline the wine glass up here at the top with my bright orange royal icing that's also in about a 15-second consistency. I'm going slow, I'm staying close to the edge, and when I get to the top of the wine glass, I'll come over and connect it together. And then I'm just going to go ahead and flood this in with the same icing. Once again, my icing is a thicker flood consistency, so I don't really need to worry that it's going to overflow. And if you jiggle your piping bag as you're flooding it in, it'll help it settle down a bit more. And I'm almost out of icing in this bag, and it gets a little bit difficult for me sometimes to pipe when I can't hold on to anything. And that's one tip. You want to make sure that you always make enough icing for your cookies because it's really hard to match the color again later. So I finished that and I let it dry a bit, and now I'm just going to come in and make the leaves and all of the cutouts on this cookie cutter. And to make the leaves, I'm just piping a big ball of icing and then dragging it back towards the wine glass. This icing is a little bit stiffer. It's more about a 20 to 25-second consistency. And I want there to be a little bit of texture in the leaves, so I'm not going to smooth them out with my scribe. And then I have these flowers that I made in another video, and I'll link that in the description. And I'm just going to put a little royal icing on the cookie and stick that right down. And then I set it aside to dry again. And then I grabbed my orange icing and came back in and started outlining the orange slice on the top of the wine glass and also the straw. So to do the straw, I'm just going to use my white icing and kind of just fill in this area. And I'll use my scribe to shape it and smooth it out and make sure there aren't any air bubbles. And while we wait for that to dry, I'm going to make some little yellow dots down here for some flowers. I don't know what these flowers are called, but just put a series of little yellow dots at the end of those little stems that we made earlier. And I let my cookie dry completely before coming back in with my orange marker and making the stripes on the straw. This cookie is really starting to come together. I love how bright and colorful it is. So now I'm just taking my white icing and I'm going to put a line at the bottom of the orange, and then I'm also going to finish making the top of the wine glass. Just touch down, lift up, go slow, drag a line across, stop squeezing, and touch it down when you get to the orange slice. And if you have any start or stop bumps, just push those down with your scribe or a dampened paintbrush. And then I set this cookie aside to dry, and I'm coming back in now with my projector because I want these orange slices to be pretty uniform and fit inside of this orange slice. So I'm just outlining the triangles for the orange slice and then putting a little dot in the middle to hopefully prevent cratering in these little tiny triangles. And I'm using my projector for this, but you could just eyeball it, or you could use the paper piecing method, or even the tissue paper method, and I'll leave a link on how all of those methods work. I turned off my projector, and now I'm just going to fill these all in with my orange icing, and then I'll use my scribe to further shape them and settle them down. And that's it. Sip, sip, hooray! We're done with these cookies. They're bright, they're cheery, they're absolutely adorable. And be sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single tutorial in the set. These cookies are certain to wow all of your friends and family at your next cocktail party. Until next time, stay frosted. Bye.